bumpety, bumpety. You see, I live in Essex, have done for the last 32 years. And in Essex, it's to be even borderline obese is a capital offence. We got a special fat guys prison in Chelmsford. They got bars 5 feet apart. Let me out of here. But seriously, it's a real problem starting a riot with that little tin cup. Clang! Clang! No, but seriously, there is a reason for this dramatic weight fluctuation that you're bearing witness to now. There is a reason for this dramatic weight fluctuation, which, as far as I know, is the only thing I ever had in common with the late Luther Vandross. I never knew the guy, we never met. Who knows, we could have been like 2 peas in a pod. But that much we had in common, dramatic weight fluctuation. And if I might make an informed guess, prognosis here as a doctor, I would say that in the case of Mr. Vandross with the dramatic weight fluctuation, I would say that it was a series of bad lifestyle choices, an accumulation really of morbid moves really, around the clock, enticing soul food, a sedentary lifestyle, prescription barbiturates, that kind of thing. In my case with the dramatic weight fluctuation, it has to do with the abrupt cessation of the non-therapeutic use of opioid drugs in a non-therapeutic milieu. Ever since the abrupt cessation of opioid drug use in a non-therapeutic milieu, it's been up with the weight, down with the weight, up with the weight, down with the weight, up. You see where I'm going with this? When will it end? Now I can't go anywhere near Manchester, where the non-therapeutic use of opioid drugs is virtually compulsory, obligatoire, if anything. If I see anybody I know, it's the same old cry. Hey Clarke, get back on drugs, you fat fuck. They're not being helpful, frankly. To the point where I wrote a poem about it, and this one's called, spookily enough, Get Back on Drugs, You Fat Fuck. When I go back to Longridge Park, does anybody wish me good luck? All they say is, hey Clarke, get back on drugs, you fat fuck. Get back on drugs, you fat bastard. Get back on drugs, you fat fuck. We only like you when you're plastered. Get back on drugs, you fat fuck. They say I'm piling on the pounds, but that ain't no reason I suck. Put the donut down and get back on drugs, you fat fuck. Get back on drugs, you fat degenerate. Get back on them, you schmuck. You're the size of a minor emirate. You were good once, but I don't remember it. Get back on drugs, you fat jumping Jehoshaphat. Get back on drugs, you fat prick. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Don't bother pointing out that schmuck don't rhyme with prick. I didn't get where I am today not noting the phonetic dissimilarity between the word schmuck and prick. But you see what I did there? I subverted the form in order to point up a higher truth. But sometimes these long rambling poetical sagas are all very well, ladies and gentlemen, aren't they? But often these days in this busy world, less is more in the world of poetry, as in any other artistic endeavour. Less is more. That guy said it in the 1920s, Walter Gropius, less is more. And that guy started the Bauhaus and built half of Manhattan. Less is more. There's a guy that made a success out of minimalism. Minimalism, less is more. There's only one exception I can think of to this rule of less is more, and that's Phil Spector, for whom more was always more. But he's out of action right now. So it looks like the minimalists have won the day by default. And that's not surprising. I've circumnavigated the globe 10 and 10 times. I think we've established that fact. Reciting poetry all the way, and the Limerick. I take it from a professional, that's the punter's choice, the Limerick. What's not to like? 5 lines with a filthy payoff. Or a complete refund. Checks may not be honoured. Yeah, the Limerick. It's the punter's choice. Why not? I'll give you an example of the Limerick. This is the strength of the Limerick. Here's a poem, the first poem in the English language. The first poem to be written in the English language. And it's still as true today as the day it was, still as relevant anyway, as relevant today as the day that it was written 3 million years ago. The first poem in the English language, and it happens to be a Limerick. And it's still as relevant today. See what you think anyway. Don't blame me, don't shoot the messenger. I can't take the credit or the blame. It's 3 million years old. There was a man in Belgrave, found a dead hooker in a cave, said it's disgusting, she only needs dusting, and look at the money, I'll say. Still as relevant to you can tell it's the oldest poem in the English language. You can just tell, look at the ingredients. You've got prostitution, the oldest profession. Caves, the oldest architecture. They've been trying to stamp out architecture and prostitution ever since that poem was written 3 million years ago. Obviously without any success. Hardly so. As long as unattractive men with a large tranche of disposable income require sexual relief, there will always be prostitution. And have you ever tried to demolish a cave? Well, have you? Don't make my mistake. You could get 1 million megatons of industrial strength radioactive Soviet-era dynamite on the case. You'll create a large explosion, but you'll only make another 73 caves somewhere else. So that's as true today as it is, relevant today as the day it was written, 3 million years ago. It's still going on now, I'm afraid, in the Carpathian mountains of Middle Europe, the Caucasus, the Alps, perhaps. Snowdonia, why fucking travel? Wherever you've got that cave-whore interface, that's always going to happen from time to time. So that's a true story in the elegant form of a limerick. But don't let that fool you into believing that just because something rhymes, that makes it true. If only that were the case. I'm afraid it isn't. Nobody could be more upset about that fact than I. Imagine my disappointment. I should imagine you feel the same way. I mean, I assume that you're all poetry lovers. There's nothing else on offer here. You're either a confederation of poetry lovers, and thank God for you, or you're the biggest set of mugs I've ever seen in one radio at once. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give you all the benefit of the doubt and assume the latter, your poetry lovers. No, the former, sorry, poetry lovers. And so it must be a big shock for you to know that just because something rhymes don't make it true. You wouldn't be alone. I told Billy Bragg 3 weeks ago he got a fucking nervous breakdown over it. You're probably wondering why he hasn't had an album out this week. The humour never stops. But I'm laughing through the tears, obviously. It's a bitter harvest to learn this. You know, just because something rhymes, that don't make it true. And I'll prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you. It's a hard lesson. I've had to come to terms with it, and now it's your turn. I can't carry it alone. And to prove this fact, this next one, last word on the limericks, but this last one here, this isn't true. This never happened. This is my first solid gold cast iron platinum guarantee to you this evening, ladies and gentlemen, that this never happened. What makes me so certain? I made it up. See what you think. Two ugly sisters from Fordham took a walk one day out of boredom. On the way back, a sex maniac jumped out of a bush and ignored them. Never happened. Dramatisation may not have happened. May not have happened. See, minimalism. I've tried to make it work for me. I'll be back with the commercial break, but I'm well known in the world of advertising as Mr. Inturgity. With everybody else, it's just compromise, compromise, compromise. But me, I'm Mr. Inturgity, and that's why I've got to believe somehow I've sold more things than Stephen Fry even. Mr. Inturgity. And that's why I'm telling you I like Eddie's Yacht Supplies for all your nautical needs. No, but I've tried to make minimalism work for me in the world of advertising. And here's an example of a little jingle I wrote. I wrote this for the Martini people in the hope that in return they would send to me a year's supply or a lifetime supply, whichever is the greater, of their innovating beverage. And I call this one, Home Honey, I'm High. Frontal lobes just get a trim, or did you meet the Moonies? Wrong on both counts, Jim. Too many martinis. Get out of here. But minimalism, this is the best I could ever do. Minimalism. This is the best I could ever do. Now, I'm a minimalist, but I got a problem. I'm a rhymer. So I can't write nothing less than a two-liner. That's as minimal as I can go. Otherwise, what's the second line going to rhyme with when there wasn't a first line in the first place either? You see the stylistic problem that would be. So, it's a two-liner for me. If you're a blank verse aficionado and also a minimalist, then by all means, go ahead and write your one line.